It's time to begin our meeting, and we are being audio taped so that people can listen to it. Are we on? Okay, great. So welcome to the first meeting of the Arts and Design Special Board Committee, and this one's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm really looking forward to it. We have two other members who have not arrived, one who's not able to be here today, and I don't know what happened with Kathy, but she'll probably come very soon, and Carl will be on his way at some point. But we do like to start on time, seeing as we are online. Okay, so the first thing is to call the meeting officially to order and to determine if we have a quorum, which we do, with only 2 absences. The distinction being if we don't have a quorum, we can't make decisions. I don't think we're at that stage yet anyway, so we're okay. So I'd like to begin with some of our introductions so that we know who we're sitting next to and who's across the hall and why maybe you're here. So the first thing I'll do is kind of talk a little bit about myself. I'm the governing board vice president for this year. This is my 3rd year on the board, and this committee was my idea, and I got some support from the other governing board members. I have an interest in art, currently doing a lot of weaving. I've done a lot of quilting and those kinds of things. So that's my background, and I was an elementary principal forever, 34 years, so that's where I'm kind of coming from. Okay, so Judy.
Okay, I'm Judy Gilpin. Been here in Sun City West for 10 years. Is that what
Hang on.
Oh,
In order for you to talk,
you can't hear me?
you need to push the button on the microphone, and then when it's green and
Okay,
lit,
am I on?
yeah, as long as the green light is lit,
Okay,
then you
I
are
thought
on.
my voice was loud enough. Usually people tell me that. Judy Gilpin, been here 10 years, originally from Seattle, Washington. And I have a degree in interior design and did that off and on for most of my professional life. And so I was just so happy to see that this committee was put in place. And we'll just go from here. You've got a,
I'm Judy Estrom. I've been here for about 10 years, was a snowbird for a while, no longer. Get a little older, you stay a little bit longer here. I'd say I was a teacher for 39 years. Kudos to being a principal. I loved all types of media, do textiles, mosaics, interior and exterior designing, and it's a pleasure being here. Hello to all of you.
So now am I on? I'm Susan Price Patterson. I used to teach high school and junior high school art for quite a few years. At one point, I did own and run a contemporary ceramic shop, and I've been on, lots of committees and other things. This is the first one I've been on in a long time. I plan on moving here full-time this coming fall if everything goes well this summer, and really enjoying it, so I thought it was time to get involved.
Hi, I'm Candy Worley, and I'm from Seattle, Washington as well. Oh, sorry. And, well, I have a master's degree in art, sculpture primarily, and the LA area is where I grew up and did a lot of work there. And as far as art now, I'm just in the photo club, which I like, and I've been here about 8 years too. So, thank you.
I don't have a green button. Can you hear me? Pull it. Can you hear me now? Yes. Okay. Hi, I'm Valerie Hopkins. I've lived here 8 years. My husband and we came really far. We came from Phoenix, and and I'm also have an interior design degree, and I owned and operated a fine art gallery in Prescott, Cave Creek, and on Main Street in Scottsdale. And right now, I'm currently a full-time interior design. So I'm excited to work on the committee.
Carl?
Thank you, Sue. Sorry I'm late. Construction calls. I'm Carl Wilhelm. I'm the Rec Center Sun City West Project Manager, and I've been here for 4 years. I too have a degree in visual communications for advertising, but I have chosen the path of construction, and it's been a blessed career. So I can look forward to working with you all.
Turn on the mic.
I'm Nancy Crossan. Is it on? I've been here full-time as a resident for the past 5 years. I'm originally from Minnesota. I do not have any degree in arts, but I've taken art classes in the past. And I just happened to notice like how we compare to maybe Sun City Grand as you're driving through the communities, and what could need some more pop in this area. And so that's why I'm on this committee.
I'm Shelley Peterson. I have a degree in art. I taught art. I'm in the Pottery Club now, and I'm with you. You know, I really think that we could beautify some areas around here, you know, like Sun City Grand. I was thinking a stream and a waterfall, but I don't think that's what this is about. But anyway, I'm from Port Townsend, and I think I've been here about 14, 15 years all told. So I'm a permanent resident now. Okay.
I'm Patty Hoffert, and I represent the art club. I'm a painter, and discovered painting 11 years ago when we moved here. My degree is in elementary education, and I too have been an administrator and a teacher and a counselor and all of those hats. Did not know I had an artistic bone in my body until I got here and took my first watercolor class and found my passion. So I feel very strongly that this committee has some great work that could be done, and I'm very excited about being on here. We've been here 11 years, and this is a long time coming, so thank you.
I'm Kat Taylor. I bought my house a little over a year ago. I'd been going back and forth to Portland, so I'm now here full-time for the last 3 or 4 months. I owned a packaging company where we designed and manufactured custom packaging components. I'm also a full-time artist as a hobby, not for money. I was also, did a lot of volunteer work, president of the Chamber of Commerce in the Yamhill County, Oregon wine country, a lot of committees, designed and sculpted, and was a coach and mentor for Sand in the City for about 7 or 8 years, where we made huge sand sculptures for a nonprofit. I'm really excited about being on this committee. I'm glad it's being formed, because I look forward, as some of the other people have shared, really beautifying the community and using the people's talents within the community to make it a better community. Thank you.
Okay, and I'll just tell you a little bit about Marilyn Robinette, who's not able to be here from her paperwork here. She's has a degree in fine arts, and especially in interior design. She's done some great things with reconstructing her house and decorating and being really creative. She uses applied art, painting, and design, and she is in the art, I think has joined the art club. And also, she happened to be the next door neighbor of Jim's mother, so I knew her before I even got to Sun City West. So it's interesting to have someone that you kind of known from the background, because I've been in her house, so it looks really good. Okay, let's go ahead and you can see from listening to everyone the backgrounds that we have. So this is a pretty powerful group. The other person I want to introduce is Donna Maloney, who is one of our board members, the board secretary, and then Karen Repkin at the back table. She's the executive assistant, and so she does a lot of the preparation work with all of your paperwork and keeping us all in tune. And then Katie O'Grady kind of works on the screen. And who else have we got? Don, who works on the electricity, and Martin, who is our photo person and YouTube person. Okay, great. All right, Karen is going to kind of walk us through board docs, how to access the agendas for the meetings and the minutes for the meetings, and how to, you know, kind of get connected, because this can be a little tricky when you've not been on one of the board committees before.
Right. How many of you are familiar with what Board Docs is, may I ask? Are you all familiar with what it is? No. So everybody knows or does not know?
Does not
know, and that was my assumption, and I'm glad, Carl, that you know. It's Carl and I work together a lot. I hope he knows. So what is Board Docs? We have to be transparent as the board and its committees. So that means that all of our meetings, just like this one, those agendas come out 48 hours before. They have to be posted. There are a lot of open meeting laws in Arizona that we have to abide by. That's part of my job, taking care of that. So what we do is we subscribe as an association to a governance system called Board Docs. Like it sounds, board documents. It's where we put up for the community all of our committee and board agendas, meeting minutes, and so forth. So just so you know what it is, because you'll hear the word board docs a lot, and it's very clear to me people don't know what it is. So I'm going to show you how you get to it. Now, why do you need to get to board docs? If you should lose the agenda that I send you for your meetings at least 48 hours in advance by open meeting law, you can always consult board docs, because everything about our meetings, when the material's ready, is posted there, okay? And what you do, so I'm going to pretend that I'm at home, and up comes like my home page, and you're all familiar with the home page. You've been on a computer. So you're going to go up to your browser bar, and Katie typed it in, and you have a page in the little staple packet I gave you where it says Board Docs, and you'll see red ink, lovely handwriting, that says gb.suncitywest.com. That's what you're going to type in that browser bar up there. That is a link that Katie, who does all our IT, she's the head of the IT department, has created for us to use. When we type that in and hit enter, and she's going to do that now, I want you to watch what happens to the screen. It's going to take us very quickly and easily to Board Docs. There's Board Docs, and that's what comes up. That is Board Docs. You'll see that big Sun City West logo. So, and each of you, by the way, you may get confused when you get home and try to do this, just call me. I think you all have my phone number. If you don't, I have my cards as well that I'll pass out. So call me, and don't feel bad about it. I get many, many calls, okay? So that's what comes up. Now, you notice we have one meeting right now scheduled, and guess what meeting that is? That's your meeting, and you can see it right there. See how it says Arts and Design Special Committee Meeting. What you want to do, there will sometimes be 8 meetings sitting there. In this case, we're going to use your meeting as an example. To check the agenda or anything else, you're going to click on that, okay? And that's going to take you, and here's your meeting, and notice it says all the information. It's, you know, the date, the time. There's also a video button here on the day of the meeting for people to click in and listen, because you all are on YouTube right now. Do you know what that means? That means that everybody can hear us, but they see the screen. They don't see you. You're not being filmed, okay? So here's our agenda. And you'll notice it says view the agenda. You can view it, or this is one of my biggest questions, to the right, you can print your agenda here. You see the print icon. That's where you print an agenda for yourself if you need it, okay? So if we click on view the agenda appears to the left. I have many people who click on it and don't understand that is the agenda to the left. So right now we're at 2.02 Board Docs Access. So it's the same agenda that you're seeing in hard copy before you. Does this make sense to you? Perfect. So the only other thing I want to go through, we're not going to spend a lot of time on this, is, Katie, will you go back to the featured page, the home page, please?
Karen, you want to tell
Yes.
them about attachments?
Yes, I can do that as well, absolutely. So let's click on the Arts and Design Committee again, Katie. So again, everything's clickable. So when we click View the Agenda, if we had attachments, we have no attachments to this meeting, but if we did, after each of those 201, 202, 203, wherever we put an attachment, you'll see what looks like a little file folder. It looks like a miniature lined page. You'll click on that box and up will come the agenda. You'll see the information to the right and you'll be able to then click into the document itself. Okay? Now, there are only a few more things I'm going to say about board docs, and if you become confused again on anything, just call me. It'll be easiest that way. But if you look at the top, you see featured, meetings, agenda, policies, library. So we'll start with library. That is not the R.H. Johnson Library. If Katie clicks on that, that's where you're going on library at the drop-down arrow. That's where you're going to find a lot of either general or event information, the board's strategic goals. There's a lot of information stored for transparency reasons on board docs. So you can scout around in that. We're not going to do that now. Just to let you know, if you move one tab to the left, policies, that's where we have all of the board's bylaws, policies, and standing rules. So that a lot of people will say, well, where do I see all these policies I hear about? That's exactly where you see them. And just to make it clear, you have to drop down from the note about docs and see there they all are. So if when Katie drops it down, we can click on bylaws, policy, everything is there for you. Again, if you don't remember, or many people never access any of this, they don't care. It doesn't come up in their committee, exercise. Okay, and then the last thing I want to point out is the meetings. So if we drop down meetings, it's very hard to see on the screen, but there's a big gray area. Do you notice all the years? So if we click on 2021, notice every single meeting that the board has had, committees, board meetings, is listed there. So if you would like to click on one, anyone, Katie, I don't care. So we're clicking on a revised regular board meeting. This was the meeting from January 21. What I want to show you is when you click on your meeting and your secretary gives me the minutes and I post them, do you see where it says view minutes? You'll be able to look at all the minutes of any meeting, including this meeting, when I receive them. They're all posted for transparency reasons. So you can always review what happened at your meeting in terms of minutes. Now there's one, so that's board docs. Is this all as a cursory overview making sense? Everybody following me, sort of? Okay. So one other thing I want to show you is if you go to the Sun City West website, which Katie, so I call it the pool picture, that's the home page. Do you see up at the upper right, she's in a circle, see that red? That's the YouTube link. If you just click that, so again, all we've done is gone to the site, pool picture, gone up to that red link, and now click on videos. This is where, see, Arts and Design is sitting there, white. As soon as this meeting's over, this whole meeting will be on YouTube there. So you can, if you're very bored, go back and watch and listen to your meeting all over again. Okay, but this will be critical for the secretary of this committee because she will want to most likely revisit the meeting. Okay? Any thoughts or questions? That's a lot to throw at you, but again, I'm available with any questions you may have as you work through your committee obligation. Okay? All right, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Karen. The next item is the use of the microphones, and I can assume that we've already kind of covered that. On and off, very easy. And something that Karen alluded to is we do need to get a secretary from among one of you needs to volunteer to be a secretary for us for the year. And I think it will be fairly easy because I have a format that you can use. And most of our work is going to be in the worksheets and the work that we do. So do I have a volunteer? A volunteer.
It's time for voluntelling.
Volunteer. Okay, well, then I'm just going to pass it to the right, and Judy.
She's raising her
Oh,
hand.
Are you sure? Okay. Otherwise, we'd just rotate the job.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Yes.
People that have done it find that it's fairly easy to do because of that format. So, thank you very much, Patty. Okay, then the committee member handbook was sent out. Did you have any kind of questions on that committee member handbook? Anything that you want me to clarify? Okay, just something I'd like to highlight is that with board committees, we don't make final decisions, we make recommendations. We recommend that the board does thus and such, or we recommend that the board accepts our idea, or, you know, that kind of approach. So that's a little bit different with some committees that you might have already been on. And then, in terms of when you're answering, when you're answering emails, don't hit reply all, because that constitutes a meeting. So you're safer just to reply individually to the one person, so that not everyone is hearing, you know, your opinion. So that's kind of, and then it doesn't fill up everybody's inbox as well. Also, let me know if you're not going to be able to come to the meeting, or if you can't get me, get Karen. But generally, if you let me know via email, would be a good idea. Okay, then we won't spend any more time on that committee member handbook. Then let's go on to committee goals. The handouts will be discussed in each of the new business items here, all this paperwork that you have. So the goals were listed underneath your paper that has all of our names, the committee on it, on the very bottom. So if you can take a look at that part. So the purpose is to use the artistic talents of community members to enhance the beauty of Rec Center Sun City West common areas. And our goals are kind of very much linked to the activities that we'll be doing. The first one is to identify common areas appropriate for enhancement through art. So we're going to do on a little hike and look around and see what we come up with. The second one is to identify club art that might potentially work in some of those places. And the third goal would be to have any design suggestions for common areas. And that might include color, it might include furniture, you know, those kinds of things, not necessarily made by a club. And then the fourth is to foster some type of community art projects to involve all of our residents. So every committee has to approve of the goals. Are any of these goals uncomfortable for you or unclear, or do you want me to talk a little bit more about them, or you have any suggestions to change?
Are we, am I
num-
on? Are we going to work on one area at a time that needs defining, or are we just going to look at our whole area to see
Okay,
what
my
we might think?
idea is to identify all possible areas and then come to a conclusion at the end of our 2 months of work here, and identify maybe key things that we might work on.
Okay.
And then next year, those things would be implemented. And we might be, this committee might do them, we might break apart, we might find a different club that does it, you know, that depends on what we come up with. So it's pretty open-ended. Someone else over here had a question? Nancy?
Number 4.
Is your microphone on?
Oh, isn't it? Is it on? Number 4.
Okay, examples of some of the community art things. Several years ago, the weavers wove small wall hanging kinds of things out of found objects like plastic and things like that. And then we hung them in the courtyard for about 3 months. And so that what is an example that you might think of. Another crazy one that I had was maybe making paper mache animals and painting them in wild flowers and putting them at Beardsley Park for 3 months. So those are some examples of community art. Other places have, they've like crocheted and knit blankets and then laid them on the ground. I don't know exactly if that's a good example of something I would choose to do, but, but those kinds of things then can involve people other than the clubs and can involve all of the residents, and usually they're short-term, but not necessarily. Susan?
That was my question. Are we going to be considering things that would become permanent?
Yes. I think that there are a whole variety of things. There could be permanent things, there could be temporary things, there could be things that are rotating displays. I think all of those ideas. So are we good? Oh, another question.
Are we going to survey the existing art? Because I find sometimes when you go into facilities, a piece you see in, Palm Ridge may look so excellent at another facility with changing things around and reorganizing and getting a color theme going within.
Certainly that's a possibility. I hadn't thought of that, but definitely. Shelley?
Do you want us individually, before the next meeting, to go around and come back with our ideas for different places to present at
Okay,
a
we
meeting?
have a plan. So maybe we should jump to the next item, which is the game plan. The game plan. And the plan basically is to divide you up into pairs and record all the ideas that you get at the different locations. So, for example, we'll assign 2 people to go over to Beardsley and to write down their ideas and what they see. And to do that, if you turn to the creative ideas and opportunities for showcasing the arts page and look at the sample recording sheet, that might be helpful for you to understand. So let's go through that. The first thing you'd want to do is and you're only focusing on one center, whatever center you've been assigned to. And that, let's say that it's Beardsley, and that's what you're focused on, the pair of you going around. So you take your clipboard and you take your sheet of paper, and you examine the interior and the exterior of the area that you have been assigned. You may have to get access to walk into some of the common areas and evaluate everything. The parking lots, the sports areas, all the buildings that are on that site, and see what kind of a brainstorm comes to your head, and then record the information. Club rooms are probably not important for you to examine, but as you're going through the Beardsley Center, for example, you'll see displays of things in clubs that do things. And so take a look at those things so that you understand what a club might produce, because that will give you a sense of the art that we might need to find a location for. So you're not going to be decorating the inside of somebody's club. That's really up to the club. And think of this as a brainstorming kind of process, where you put down immediately what comes to your mind. I mean, you may have 3 or 4 ideas for that area, then jot those down. Because in the end, we'll reach the evaluation stage after looking at the clubs and looking at the locations, where you will be doing some evaluation and saying, this idea isn't going to work because it's too costly, or, that's the point that we'll evaluate, and then you reduce that list of ideas that you might have. And I'm also looking at this as a, like 1 to 5 year kind of ideas, so that in 3 years, people can go back and look at this list that we've developed and pick and choose different ideas and different locations that might work out. So it's not a one-time deal and then we're all done. So you want to keep a real open mind, and that's why you have the worksheets for putting down your ideas. And let's take a look at that worksheet. Maybe an example. Let's say that you're at Beardsley again, and you're looking in the pool, and you're inside that pool, and there's this huge wall of nothing on one side. I think it has panels, if I remember it rightly. And so maybe you come up with an idea of, oh, we could just have different block colors on each one of those panels. Or maybe we could have abstract paintings of ocean animals, or. And so put those creative ideas down there. And then if there's a specific club that, you would address to maybe conduct a contest to see what artists would submit, maybe it's the art club that you would go to, then put that down on the side. If it's not necessarily a specific club, don't worry about that. And then when you get done with everything at Beardsley, then go back and say, oh, boy, I think this is really one of the most important things, and then do your star rating. That will kind of be helpful. And we've got multiple worksheets here so that you can take several with you. And just keep writing those ideas down. So then I would be asking you to determine which of the areas you would like to sign up for. And originally I thought, oh, yeah, I would take the one that I'm most familiar with. And then after thinking about it, I think you'd be wise to choose something that you're not familiar with, because you'll see it with a fresh eye. And so my idea is, after you complete all those worksheets with your ideas, that you would send that to me, and I've identified, if you can do that by April 9th, I believe I put on the sheet, then I will compile that, and I'd ask that you would type this up, because I don't want to have to, I did teach first grade for 6 years, but I don't want to have to try to read all of that writing, and it'll condense it as well. And then I will consolidate it, bring it back, and at our next meeting, you can share some of the ideas and maybe explain what your idea is. If you come up with something and I can't quite understand it from what's written there, you can talk about it. So you're focused only on one area. However, if you have time as an individual, be looking around at other areas as well, because then you'll have an opportunity at our next meeting to say, you know what, you forgot about maybe having a new sculpture at a new fountain at Beardsley, or a new fountain at Kuntz. And I'd like to see us add that in. So then we'll add in the rest of those ideas, and that way we'll get opinions from all of us.
Are
Susan.
we going to be concentrating on just the rec centers, or are we going to take other areas like, say, the golf courses and things like that?
Yes, if you look at the sheet, the bottom of the instruction sheet, you'll see the areas, the rec center areas that I've identified. And for example, R.H. Johnson Rec Center, there's an upper level, a lower level. That includes the sports pavilion, the library, the parking lot. And then also go over to Grandview Golf Course. And at the golf courses, I don't know what you'll come up with. But my idea is just kind of look at where the clubhouse area is, the entrance, go in the clubhouse. And I'm not sure what ideas you'll come with, and maybe none. But yes, we are going to include those areas, because those are common areas as well.
Okay, so
Judy?
how about the median down R.H. Johnson? I know they've been doing a lot of work and removing a lot of plants. Is that in our area, or is that
That's really,
landscaping?
yeah, that's really a part of Maricopa County that takes care of those areas. And one of the great people to have here is Carl, because he can keep us straight on those things. I know the Prides do the maintenance, and I know that Patty designs the plants.
In our
But-
in our previous long-range planning committees, you know, we've done studies of the entrances to the rec centers and actually in quite depth in cost. And there's a lot of reasons why they look the way they look today due to railroad tracks and easements and things like that. So they're not very easy things to change other than suggestions on maybe plantings. But yes, the Prides in Maricopa County do the bulk of the work. Todd's department shares in that responsibility to some extent. Like, for example, you see, you know, the lack of orange trees these days, and now we've gone to an oak. And so it would be difficult to change those areas, but suggestions are always good suggestions.
Okay. Shelley?
Is there a budget we could keep in mind when we're thinking about this?
I'd say don't worry about budget at this point, but we will worry about budget several meetings down the road. There is in a plan in the proposed budget for next fiscal year, which goes from July 1st to the end of June of next year, to put an amount of money in there so that we would have money for things like paint, or if you have to buy metal to make a sculpture, or those kinds of things. So there will be funding as long as that remains in the budget, which I would expect that it would at that point. But let's keep it to the areas that we've got listed here, and also we're looking mostly at visual arts. You know, a typical arts committee sometimes also includes performing arts and things like that. I think we're just going to keep this kind of small as a start to begin with, so thinking about that. So those are the 4 areas, and yes, they include golf courses, but not out on the golf course, but around the clubhouse or the entrance area. You know, that, you know, I would stick to that, because you don't want to get hit by a ball or something like that. Okay, I have also given you the rec center news. Okay, and the reason for that is that at our next meeting, we'll probably be making some club contacts, and there's a section in here that tells you the name of the president and the telephone number and that kind of thing. And also, if you would read the information about each of the clubs, because, you know, you want to know what do the Creative Stitchers do. If you read the back sections, their little articles, you kind of get an idea of what kind of thing they produce, and that it's, you know, very small or it's a large thing, whatever. So hang on to that. And then I gave you a map, because if you need to know where the golf courses are and you're not a golfer or you're brand new, you know, you kind of need to know where to go. So you've got those things, and then you've got our packet of directions. We'll be giving you more record sheets, and I think that kind of explains the paperwork that you've got in front of you. So just be creative, look at everything, think about different things, think about different art forms, and think beyond just the clubs that we have here too, because that shouldn't limit us. We've got a lot of creative talent in the community, and I'm sure we can rustle something up if there's something that the club is not making, because we don't want this just to be club activities. I think every resident should have an opportunity, but the clubs are a good, you know, contact point. So what did I forget to talk about? I think maybe we're ready to have you choose the ones that you would like to work with, and then, okay.
Is there any record of permanent art, whatever, in Sun City West now?
I don't believe so. We did look around to see what things had plaques and memorials. So we do have a list from that. I worked on that committee with, it was a small board committee where we tried to define what we were doing with that. And in the process, there was a partial list of items. But a lot of those were also inside of clubs, which we're not involved in. But that's a good point. I do know that there were 3 beautiful sculptures that were provided by the Metal Club, and those have been located. One's at Kuntz. It's a big dice in a vise. And there's one on the pool, a flower that's been installed. And the third one, I think, is it by the mini golf? It was a golf bag from the metal shop. And so they've donated, because of those donations, I'm familiar with those 3 that have been located. But that might be something our committee should do.
I think it would be a good reference to have. And also, my other question, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Are we thinking about any, like, living displays? And I'm talking, you know, like the planting that's done around and stuff like that. So it's something that would need upkeep? Is that anything that we should be considering when we're going around looking?
If you see some area, put it down, because in our elimination process, we may determine that it's too much work, or not. We may want some vegetation to enhance the artwork.
Okay.
And so that would be a part of that. And Carl is here to be able to tell us what kinds of things, you know, you don't want to put a piece of sculpture in the middle of a place where the lawnmower is trying to go through. So then you may want to enlarge an area where it's away from the grass, as an example. So maybe as what you brought up, as you're going around and you see permanent displays, or identify that and put it down in your notes on the sheets. So if you notice that there is a sculpture indeed over at Kuntz in the new area, put it down as an existing thing, and by the end of the time, we'll have that list.
And
Carl?
I would say that in the 4 years that I've been here, anything that you see that's current art, Memorial Garden, Meditation Garden at Beardsley, some pieces inside the tennis facility, a couple of the pieces you referenced here at Mini Golf, the new courtyard at Kuntz. All that art is relatively new, so my suggestion would be to inventory it, bring that back, and it would help create a art spreadsheet, if you will, so that maybe somebody doesn't get offended that it's only been there a few months to a couple of years, and then evaluate that.
Yes, okay, great idea. So you have to add that onto your instruction sheet. Yes. Okay.
Would it be appropriate?
You go by
while-
Kathy or Kat?
Cat.
Kat, okay.
Would it be appropriate while we're doing this to just take a photograph and maybe dimensions, and then we have it, a visual and a little bit of a record, so we know the scale and the appropriateness, not only for what's existing, but for where we want to put something, so when we do our presentations, you know, it's more.
Good idea. Yeah, that would be great. Otherwise, you're needing to write that all down. You know, for example, if you want to put on the side of the bowling alley, on the west side, you know, if you want to put a wood bowling pin that goes from the ceiling, you know, of that all the way down to the ground, you know, you'd have to describe that, so you could do it easier with a picture. Sure.
Sue, I have to leave. I have an art class to go to.
So
Appropriate.
so Judy, tell me
whatever
which,
you want me to do, just put me somewhere.
oh, okay.
Is that okay?
Would you like to choose one right now? Or do you don't, it doesn't matter to you?
Let me do Palm Ridge, because that's far away from where I am.
Okay. Okay, thanks, Judy.
And then are we to, whoever else gets Palm Ridge, do you want us to go together?
Yes, go together, and we'll give you time at the end of this time period to decide when you're going. And then just let me know when you decide that you're going to go off doing that, and if I can join you, I will.
Perfect. Thank you. It was so nice meeting everyone.
Okay. Okay, other questions, or do you want to pick a spot? No other questions? Okay, does somebody have a preference where they go? Kuntz, okay. Judy E.
Palm Ridge.
Palm Ridge, okay, so you'll go with Judy Gilpin. So Kat is going with, okay. So, anybody else have a preference?
I'll take Beardsley.
Okay. Nancy has Beardsley. Valerie?
I'll take Beardsley also.
Okay. Okay, so we've still got, RH, we can handle 4 people. And we need 1 more for Kuntz.
Well, I live real close to Kuntz, and I play those golf courses, but I'd be fine to do Kuntz also.
Okay. Susan, okay, is taking Kuntz. Okay, then I guess the remaining 4, Shelley, Patty, and Marilyn, and who else? Candy?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, and with the 4 of you, I guess I would take a look at the map that you've got and divide it in half and go 2 by 2. Somebody do the upper level maybe, and somebody do the lower level. Kind of divvy that up, so that you're not all 4 going around, because that's a really large area. Carl?
Sue, can we go around the room, just say what we chose, so I can kind of reference names to locations when we're justifying and,
Okay, I can tell you. Oh, you want to see the person?
sure.
Okay, Judy Gilpin, I'm starting at the bottom. Why do I do that? I'll start at the top. Okay, R.H. Johnson, Shelley Peterson, and Patty Hoffert, and... Okay, we'll take the upper, okay? And then Marilyn, who's not here, and Candy.
Yep.
We'll take the
lower.
lower.
Okay.
And Beardsley will be Nancy, over here next to you, Carl, and Valerie, across the way.
Slow down. What's that last one?
Valerie
Is where?
Beardsley.
Beardsley.
Okay.
And then Kuntz will be Judy Estrom. Am I saying that properly? Okay. Judy Estrom and Susan Price Patterson. Palm Ridge will be Judy Gilpin and Kat Taylor. Okay, so you have, those of you that have to connect with either Judy or Marilyn, you have the sheet with the telephone numbers on it so that you can connect with them and make your arrangements. And then just send me an email or a text or something like, well, not a text on the phone number that's here. Better send me an email on where you'll be going. Okay, so we've added 2 things to the instructions here. One is potential for taking photos as you go along to get perspective. And the second thing is to identify the current existing art. For example, I know that the art club has a rotating display at the library, right, Patty? Right. Yeah. So there might be some of those things going on. Carl?
So I'd like to offer my help in the sense that I know what projects are coming up. Oh, yes. Okay, and some of them are critical.
Yes.
In
Talk to that right now.
design. So an example would be the interior pool of Beardsley has been so far recommended to the governing board for approval to have interior wainscoting, so like that 4-foot short wall that's along the masonry walls of the building to be refurbished. The end of the pool has a carpet replacement, and that flooring has been thought out for some new applications of flooring, like a rubber flooring like we just completed at Kuntz, if anybody's visited the pool or the spa. And then all of the fountains in that area are been recommended to the governing board for removal and replacement. And so I would be repairing all that concrete and getting rid of the fountains. And overall, Beardsley has been asked for a color facelift, if you will. So we're a little behind with our committee here and maybe solving some of these things, but suggestions would be great. Because I already have some dollars applied to that, so it's not like we can blow the budget.
Right.
But based on who I know here, I wouldn't mind sending a list of things that I know are in the budget to be refurbished, so.
Okay, so, and the other consideration is a potential enclosure of the entrance to the Beardsley Pool?
Yeah, I didn't just go, there's actually a handful of
Right.
projects, so I'll email you and
Okay.
each individual person on here.
Right.
If they're walking that rec center, that this is the project that's gonna happen in the next season.
Okay, yes, that, I should have mentioned that, that's helpful. And then, of course, you know that Kuntz project has been, the new courtyard has been totally redone, so that's just recent. Judy?
A question for you, Carl. The new coating that's been put on around the pool at Kuntz, are there restrictions for any placement of pots or any other artwork that can go on there?
You definitely have to consider things that rust, things that discolor over time, so that's, yes. It's not changeable, you know, it's like we can't slice out of a piece to put bolts in and things like that, so. I will be a little bit of our oversight in this committee for how we attach, what's feasible, you know.
Yeah, which is perfect, that's what we need.
So.
Kat?
Is there a particular committee or group of people who determine like all the color and finish choices for the different projects? Because it seems like, oh, I gotta talk to you.
Currently, it's Carl for new projects, but just upkeep,
Staff is very busy, they're very creative, but, you know, when they're focused on their thing, it's hard to get us together to come up with the right idea all the time. I have certainly taken the lead on that, but I definitely bounce those ideas off of, you know, the bulk of the information that's brought to the table. Like, for example, the tennis courts at R.H. Johnson. If you walk into those bathrooms, you'll find that they're very modern. I didn't just make that color selection up. I do my homework on, you know, what's the latest and greatest thing for bathrooms. So I try to apply that thinking, and then at our staff meetings, we talk about it, you know, does everybody agree that rubber flooring is the right idea? And then a lot of times I'll bring a color palette to it and give them 3 or 4 options. That's how the carpeting got picked at Palm Ridge in the last year. So it's been successful, but I think the advantages of having the committee here is we can have a second voice on that, so.
Definitely.
yeah, we don't have any person on staff who is in charge of arts and design. So that's this committee, and for new projects, Carl is pretty good at that, but, you know, those things come along only once every 20 years or so. So we can have a big impact, hopefully, on the other areas as well. And if we get ahead of it enough, then we can be involved in helping to make some design ideas.
And remember, too, that we only have so many facilities, maintenance folks here that do upkeep. So, you know, to paint an area with multiple colors and things like that, that has to be maintained, and it takes a lot of work and hours. So, you know, I think we're moving past the tans of the past and into the grays of the future, and then where does it fit in between there? But you have to consider, what does it take to upkeep and maintain? So we have to be a little considerate about that.
And those will be our decisions when we choose a project to, or several projects. I would assume I mean, I would hope, let's put it that way, that we would have several projects going. Some may be big and some may be small for next year. But when we decide on those projects, that's when we really need to look at the feasibility of things and how on earth you would attach things and where would you put them so that they aren't stolen and all of those kinds of details. And Carl will be very helpful there. Okay. What else? Candy?
I had a question about this form. It has club assistance. What is that?
Well, if you, for example, want to have metal wind sculptures, you would maybe go to the metal club and say, aha, would you like to have a little, club project where you have your members focus on creating some beautiful sculptures?
And would we ask them their budget, or would we?
Well, we would have a budget to provide the materials.
Okay.
And once, if, let's say that we decide that that's a project we want to do, that would be the point at which next year you talk to the club and you work out the details and determine all of those kind of finite things that might have to happen within it. Some of the ideas you come up with may not have a club attached to it, or you don't know, or it could be a couple of clubs, or, So it just depends on the project.
Thank you.
Valerie?
Do we have to use, like, the metal club here, or if someone has an artist that they know can do a thing, or are we supposed to use Sun City West residents, first, or what? What is the?
I think we can go either way. I don't think that the budget is going to allow us to be able to pay an artist a large amount of money for a project. I mean, that would involve fundraising, and that's another whole field. So that's why I was looking at mostly Sun City West people that would be willing to, to volunteer their artistic talents. But I don't think it's exclusively, and it doesn't have to be exclusively a club member. It could be somebody else that's not in that club, but they have that talent.
Thank you.
So it's kind of all over the board. Susan?
On that same worksheet, the idea strength, what exactly do we mean by that? It's what we think is the highest priority?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Like something, you walk into a place and some idea grabs you, and you say, oh, this is what we have to do. I guess you would address it that way. And that's arbitrary. I mean, then when you come back to the whole group, then that may not be a high priority when you look at all of the other ideas in the community. Other questions? Shelley?
If we had a picture that we wanted to share with the group for the next meeting, how would we do that?
From a picture that you took?
Well, let's say, you just had a super idea, you saw something.
Right.
Could you email it and have it be shown or here, or,
I'll ask the tech experts over there. If she has we have a picture that we want to share so the whole group can see it, how would we get that into the screen? Okay, to Karen in a JPEG.
And I'll assist in
Carl?
I'll assist in either the pointing or having the person that wants to present. I'll offer that too, so that these guys aren't
Oh, okay,
having to try to figure it out.
okay.
I didn't understand that.
Speak up.
I'll assist in Katie, and basically I'll do the thumb drive, and
Okay,
so if you collect that information, put it on a thumb drive, I can drive the
Okay.
picture showing from here.
great, great.
So if we have a photo, we
Send
can
it as a-
send it just to
Send it as a
Carl.
JPEG note to Karen, and Karen
Karen.
Rupkin. Karen, our executive assistant. And her address and all that stuff is on your list here. So send it, and then she will consolidate it and get it to Carl.
Do you mean email or?
Yeah, email the JPEG to Karen. Right,
And let's talk about that, because Karen could get inundated with your guys' photos. So
She good? Okay, so you have a better idea
Maybe you,
to me?
yeah, and then
Thank you.
And then I'll, is
organize, filter, and get
Okay.
it on a thumb drive.
that better, Karen? Yeah,
We'll see how it works, Carl, you know.
You get where I'm,
Send them to me and then we'll figure it out.
okay.
yeah, she's okay with that.
Does everybody know what a JPEG is? No, okay, JPEG, you know how you have a Word doc or a PDF, which is a word that you can't change? A JPEG is what you use for pictures. So when somebody from your family sends you a picture from the birthday party, it's probably a JPEG. It just means picture. So if you need help, I gave you my card, call me.
Okay, one other thing on the maps. So you're trotting around our R.H. Johnson Rec Center, and you've got an idea, and you're putting it onto your worksheet. And you've talked about it and described it on the worksheet. And that's number one, okay? That was the first comment that you put down there. Okay, so then put the number onto the map so that we know what you're talking about, okay? It'll just be an extra way, you know, write down number one, circle it, and it'll be clear to us. Otherwise, you have to try to figure out which is the west side of the exterior wall of the, you know, that becomes a little difficult. So that's why you have these maps with you.
Sue?
Yes.
We use the term Upper and Lower Johnson really readily. People who work here, we know what that means. Do you all who are working on Johnson understand that terminology?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you
Please
they need
explain.
to get together and explain. It's just a way, because Johnson was so big and it wraps all the way to over there where the mini golf is, this whole cube. So ignore all the stuff like the dog park. That's considered lower. But this whole semicircle is kind of cut in half. And Carl, you can probably explain it better than I do.
Yeah,
Where the
tell them where
cutoff is,
the dividing line is.
dividing line, yeah.
It's the sports pavilion, so whoever's taking the upper takes the sports pavilion, and then everything from the outside of Memos through the fitness center and the pool, all the way around through activity center, tennis, lawn bowling, arc, men's club, and then the library is considered what? Lower. Okay, standalone.
Yeah, library is standalone, so the upper people should take that one. Yeah. And then the lower starts with the pickleball courts and goes off that direction. And you said sports pavilion is in the upper. Okay? So, and if you wander into the wrong side, it doesn't matter, just so everything's covered, because we're going to talk about all those areas anyway, so I guess that would be fine. All right, what else did I forget? You're going to let me know when you're going, so if I'm free, I might join you. Our next meeting, we're going to review the ideas. And you're going to get that to me by the 9th so that I can compile it so that it's in a format that you can then see what everybody has, the ideas that everyone has. You're just going to be brainstorming. Do not be stymied by cost or impossibilities or any of those kinds of things. You're going to go into rooms like this, but probably not into rooms like the clubs, unless you want to see what they're making, which is fine, but probably not going to be creating a bit better decorating for any of them. And at our next meeting, so we'll compile all of that information, and then we'll chart a course as to how we're going to involve the clubs and make some contacts with them and kind of talk about that piece of it as the next piece that we might address. Karen?
So when you all know, and Sue, when you know who's going where.
I know that.
We kind of need to know that in advance so that Katie just pointed out, we probably have to announce, Carl would probably agree, to our monitors and so forth internally. That
Yes.
there are gonna be some people coming in, because if any of you know, some monitors take their jobs very seriously.
Yes.
And they're not gonna let you wander, so we wanna.
Yes, Carl, are you going to notify? No.
No?
I don't
That
have
would be
time
me,
for that.
Katie, and
Okay.
I'll figure that out.
Katie, and I- okay,
Well,
you'll figure,
Dairy Club, and it doesn't matter who comes in, there's some parts of it that you don't go in. The Silver Club's the same way, so.
And inside clubs, it's a little different, but in general, just women wandering around, especially if you're at the golf courses, because I'm really worried about people wandering down into the course area. You know, the point is, they'll notice you, and it'll be kind of like, what are they doing? They're not playing golf.
yeah.
Yeah, and you're not
And so,
allowed
I
to do
guess-
that.
I
so.
guess you can introduce yourself to the monitors and say, I'm on the new Arts and Design Committee, and we're just looking around for ideas. You know, the lecture hall is locked. Could you let us in so we can take a look at it? And explain yourself to if there are leads or managers at each of the sites that you can introduce yourself to. If you're in the bowling alley, you want to, talk to Barry Hardesty or Tina if he's not there, and so that they know what you're doing. But most of those people, if you explain what's happening. Carl?
So R.H. Johnson's leads are in 2 locations, right here in this office behind us, and then down next to the activity center,
By the pool?
okay? At Beardsley, it's the front office to the left-hand side of the Arts and Crafts parking lot. It's David Bennett's office. At Palm Ridge, it's across from Stained Glass. And at Kuntz, it's the lobby of the Swim and Fitness. That's where the leads are there. So if you have any issues, or like Sue said, just introduce yourself and say, hey, we'd like to go for a walk around the property, and, just be observant if a softball game's going on or sports are being played, so.
Okay, and then make sure you cover the whole territory, including parking lots and. Okay, are you excited? Is it too much? Gather the information and let your minds be creative and crazy, and if you've got enough time, take a look at some of the other sites other than the one that you've been assigned to, so that when you come back next time, we've got a chance to add your ideas from different locations to the ones that we already have. Okay, so our next meeting is the 13th of April, East, and 11 o'clock. And you should have it's almost 3 weeks, so hopefully you can get this accomplished and in that amount of time and won't feel worked to death. Anything else for the good of the order? Any comments that any of you want to make at the end of the meeting here? Carl?
I'm off the rest of the week, so on Monday, I'll send out if I feel like a project needs to involve us, then I'll send that to the appropriate people plus you.
Okay, great. Any other comments you want to make at the end of the meeting?
I have a question.
Yes.
You wanted this emailed to you? How?
No, I want you to use one to fill out for each of the sites, and you may need several of these, so I will pass these around, actually, and you can take a number of them.
Are you going to email that sheet as well?
Yeah, because you want to.
Karen, could you do that? Email this sheet?
Worksheet.
Email the worksheet out. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can do that. Yeah.
Otherwise, take several, okay? Here you go. Oops, that didn't go well. So this is going to, you're walking around and you're writing these ideas out in handwritten form. Okay, one of the two of you has to go back home and type it up.
But type it up on this form?
No,
or
it's
just
not,
type
it's
it
not a
up?
fillable,
No, okay, so you would just
so
want to.
just type it up with the information going
Okay,
across.
sure.
Yeah, because otherwise we would be having pages and pages, so that's the plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your IT, can they make this a fillable doc so we can just have a,
Time, photos take
Does anybody know how to do that? Does anyone else know how to do that easily? Make it a
Take couple
fillable form.
extra for the other gal.
Well, sometimes if you just have a certain program, like I have a program where I scan this and then I save it as, I can't remember what it's called, Doc Hub or something, and then
You're
I can drop
volunteered.
the info. No, I'm not, no, I'm not a tech person, but, I mean, that, my computer knows how to do it, I don't.
If I have time to do it, I'll add it in, it's just, I'm spread thin.
Well, if it's just emailed to us, we can load it onto our computer and save it and download as many copies as we want, so.
Yeah, okay.
I'll send it out the minute I get back.
Okay, yeah, this is an arts committee, not a tech committee. You know, it's not where we're going. Okay, if we're all done, and usually we have questions from the community, but Katie, did anybody ask a question? Okay, all right, then I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much.